she walked into that courtroom in chains. America's first female Navy SEAL sniper, shackled like a common criminal. The whispers followed her. Unstable, dangerous, a liability. The judge's expression said it all. Guilty before the trial even began. The prosecution painted her as reckless, insubordinate, a failed experiment. But they didn't know what she'd really seen in Yemen. They didn't know why she'd disobeyed those orders. They didn't know what she was protecting until the courtroom doors swung open and a 4-star general changed everything. From which city in the world are you watching this video today? If this story resonates with you, consider subscribing for more untold stories of extraordinary courage. Lieutenant Commander Merrick Thorne enters the courtroom in shackles, the chains rattling with each deliberate step. Despite her restraints, her posture remains military perfect. Spine straight, shoulders squared, chin slightly raised. Her uniform, stripped of insignia and ribbons, hangs slightly loose on her athletic frame. The assembled crowd watches her with a mixture of curiosity, contempt, and morbid fascination. The whispers follow her path to the defense table. That's her, the woman who thought she could play with the big boys. Heard she had a mental breakdown. Typical. All that training wasted on someone who cracks under pressure. Thorne registers none of it outwardly, but her ice blue eyes scan the room with methodical precision, noting faces, positions, exits, the instinctive situational awareness that has kept her alive in the world's most dangerous places. Her defense counsel, Lieutenant Pax Calloway, rises nervously as she approaches. He's young for such a high-profile case with a reputation as brilliant but inexperienced. The files before him are suspiciously thin for a case of this magnitude. "Commander," he whispers as she sits. "They've denied my request for the unredacted mission files again." Thorne's expression doesn't change. Expected. "Without those files, I can't prepare a proper defense." "Focus on what you can control, Lieutenant." Her voice is low, controlled. "We knew the deck would be stacked." Judge Advocate General Rowan Blackwell enters, and the room stands at attention. His weathered face bears the permanent scowl of a man who sent dozens of servicemen and women to military prison. His gaze lingers on Thorne with undisguised disapproval. "Be seated," he commands, arranging his materials with methodical precision. Court-martial of Lieutenant Commander Merrick Thorne, United States Navy, is now in session. The military prosecutor, Commander Adlai Westbrook, rises with the fluid confidence of someone who knows victory is all but assured. His opening statement is devastating in its simplicity. "Your Honor, this case is about trust, duty, and the sacred chain of command that keeps our war fighters alive in the field. The evidence will show that the accused entrusted with a critical position in a classified operation abandoned her post, disobeyed direct orders, and through her actions endangered her team and compromised a mission vital to national security." As Westbrook speaks, Thorne's mind briefly flashes back. She sees herself on a rocky outcrop, ghillie suit blending perfectly with the terrain, her eye to a scope. She's absolutely still except for controlled breathing. Her spotter whispers something inaudible. Her expression shifts subtly. Conflict, then resolve. She adjusts her aim slightly. The memory dissolves as Judge Blackwell asks for her plea. How does the defendant plead to the charges and specifications? Thorne rises, her chains jingling in the quiet courtroom. "Not guilty, Your Honor." Several officers in attendance exchange knowing glances. One mutters, "Delusional." Back in the present, the prosecution's case unfolds with mechanical efficiency. Satellite imagery shows Thorne's position and subsequent unauthorized movement. Comms recordings play her team leader ordering her to maintain position, followed by her to acknowledgement, and then damning silence. Captain Quillenreed, Thorne's former commanding officer, takes the stand. His testimony paints Thorne as emotionally unstable in the days leading up to the operation. "In your assessment, Captain Reed, was Commander Thorne fit for duty on the day in question?" Westbrook asks. "In retrospect, no," Reed replies with rehearsed conviction. "There were warning signs I regrettably failed to act upon." "What kinds of warning signs?" "Isolation from the team. unusual interest in mission parameters outside her need to know, questioning orders rather than executing them. When Calloway cross-examines about Thorne's otherwise spotless record, her top ranking in BUDS, her unprecedented scores in sniper school, her 3 previous successful deployments, Reed dismisses these achievements. Commander Thorne was a special project. There was significant pressure from above to ensure the program appeared successful. His implication is clear. Her accomplishments were inflated, her failures covered up until now. During a brief recess, 2 younger officers pass close by Thorne. Guess they'll think twice before letting another woman into BUDS. Affirmative action at its finest. Their smirks fade when they catch Thorne's steady gaze. Something in her eyes, not anger, but a calm assessment that somehow feels more threatening, makes them hurry along. A naval intelligence officer presents redacted mission reports. The visible portions paint Thorne as reckless, insubordinate. When Calloway asks to see the full, unredacted reports, Judge Blackwell denies the request, citing national security. Thorne's mind flashes back again. She's moving swiftly through rocky terrain, her rifle slung across her back. She's speaking urgently into a secondary comm device. Kingfisher, actual, be advised. Parameters compromised. Target location houses civilian infrastructure. Repeat, children on site. Request immediate guidance. The prosecution calls their final witness, Master Chief Briar Sullivan, Thorne's team leader, during the operation. Sullivan is the epitome of a seasoned operator. Scarred, weathered with the 1,000-wise stare of someone who's seen too much combat. Master Chief Sullivan, please describe Commander Thorne's actions during Operation Paris. Westbrook prompts. Sullivan's testimony is measured, factual, damning. Commander Thorne acknowledged her orders to maintain overwatch at Checkpoint Echo. Approximately 22 minutes later, she vacated her position without authorization. When the primary target package arrived at the designated location, she was absent from her post and non-responsive on comms. And the consequences of her absence. Without sniper coverage, the team was exposed during the approach. We took fire from an elevated position that should have been neutralized by Commander Thorne. 2 team members were wounded in the ensuing firefight. Sullivan never meets Thorne's eyes during his testimony. In all my years in special warfare, he concludes, I've never witnessed such a blatant disregard for chain of command and team safety. Calloway rises for cross-examination, but his questions are ineffectual. The judge frequently sustains objections before Sullivan has to answer anything substantive. As the prosecution rests, Judge Blackwell's expression makes it clear. This case is effectively decided. Thorne watches the jury, all male, all senior officers already deliberating in their expressions. From the back row, Admiral Everett Zachariah observes with an inscrutable expression. When his eyes briefly meet Thorne's, he looks away first. The day's proceedings end with Judge Blackwell's stern instructions to the jury. As Thorne is led away in shackles, the crowd disperses, most minds already made up about her guilt. That evening, in a sparse holding cell, Calloway visits Thorne. They're going to find you guilty, he says, without preamble. Yes, you could still change your plea. Throw yourself on the mercy of the court. Your service record, what they haven't redacted, might buy you leniency. Thorne looks at him calmly. I cannot plead guilty to crimes I didn't commit, Lieutenant. Then help me defend you. Give me something to work with. Tell me what really happened out there. Thorne is silent for a long moment. What happened is classified beyond your clearance level. I'm your attorney. I have clearance. Not for this. Her expression softens slightly. You're a good lawyer, Calloway, but some battles can't be won in a courtroom. So, you're just giving up? I'm following orders. She turns away, ending the conversation, leaving Calloway frustrated and confused. The next morning, the courtroom has the subdued energy of a place where conclusions are foregone. The jury of senior officers maintains professional masks, but their body language suggests impatience. Men waiting for an inevitable verdict so they can return to actual duties. Lieutenant Calloway rises nervously to begin the defense. His opening statement emphasizes Thorne's exemplary service record and the unusual circumstances of the operation. The jury receives his arguments with polite indifference. Judge Blackwell checks his watch twice. Calloway calls his first character witness, a former instructor from sniper school, who speaks to Thorne's exceptional discipline and judgment. The prosecution's cross-examination is brief, establishing that the instructor wasn't present during Operation Barris and cannot speak to Thorne's state of mind that day. As Calloway prepares to call his second witness, the courtroom doors swing open forcefully. Standing in the doorway is General T.K. Ryerson, for gleaming stars on each shoulder, the unmistakable insignia of the Joint Special Operations Command on his uniform. The courtroom falls instantly silent. Ryerson is a legend in special operations circles. Former Delta Force operator, architect of a dozen classified campaigns, advisor to presidents. His presence in any military courtroom would be remarkable. His arrival here, unannounced, is seismic. Ryerson walks deliberately down the center aisle, his aide carrying a leather briefcase marked with classified document indicators. Judge Blackwell appears genuinely startled. General Ryerson, this court was not informed of your attendance. That's because my attendance was not scheduled, Your Honor. Ryerson's voice is quiet, but carries an unmistakable authority. I request permission to address the court. This is highly irregular. So, is court-martialing a hero under false pretenses? Judge Advocate Ryerson's tone could cut steel. The prosecutor, Westbrook, rises quickly. Your Honor, this is inappropriate. The general is not on the witness list, and any testimony would be. Sit down, Commander. Ryerson doesn't even look at Westbrook. I'm not here as a witness. I'm here as the commanding officer of Joint Special Operations Command, exercising my authority over classified operations. After a tense moment, Blackwell nods. Ryerson approaches the bench, removes his hat, and places it under his arm. Before I begin, I am exercising my authority as JSOC commander to declassify certain elements of Operation Barris for this proceeding. He turns to face the gallery. Anyone without top-secret clearance is ordered to leave this courtroom immediately. Several journalists and junior officers file out protest evident in their movements. Thorne sits perfectly still, her expression unchanged, but something shifts in her posture, the barest hint of tension released. The courtroom falls completely silent as General Ryerson prepares to speak. All eyes fixed on the man who has just upended what everyone believed was a foregone conclusion. Once the doors close, Ryerson continues, his aide distributing sealed folders to the judge and jury members. What you are about to see has been classified at the highest levels. Lieutenant Commander Thorne was not operating as a standard SEAL sniper during Operation Barris. She was placed there by direct order from JSOC as part of Operation Kingfisher, a counterintelligence mission that only 5 people in this room knew existed. A murmur ripples through the courtroom. Thorne remains impassive, but her eyes never leave Ryerson. He nods to his aide, who activates a secure video feed. The footage shows what Thorne saw through her scope that day. A small village with what appears to be a school. Children visible in the courtyard. Then American private military contractors meeting with known terrorists, exchanging what appear to be targeting data for U.S. military installations. Commander Thorne identified U.S. citizens engaged in treason. The primary mission parameters called for elimination of all targets in that zone, which would have included 37 children being used as human shields. What appeared to be insubordination was actually Thorne following superseding orders from JC to preserve civilian life, while neutralizing only the confirmed threats. The room watches in stunned silence as the footage continues. Thorne's impossible shot over 1,800 m in variable wind conditions, taking out the American conspirator and the terrorist leader with 2 shots in rapid succession, while leaving the children untouched. That shot, Ryerson says quietly, may be the most extraordinary feat of precision marksmanship in the history of special operations. Captain Reed shifts uncomfortably in his seat. Beads of sweat have formed on his forehead. The secondary mission objective, Ryerson continues, which Commander Thorne was exclusively tasked with, was to secure evidence of U.S. personnel providing classified intel to enemy combatants. She succeeded in both objectives despite extraordinary complications. General Ryerson turns to face Master Chief Sullivan directly. The injuries sustained by your team, Master Chief, were not from enemy fire. They were from friendly fire, specifically from Captain Reed's second team, which was deployed without Thorne's knowledge to eliminate her after she witnessed the exchange. Sullivan's face drains of color. Ryerson produces communications logs showing Reed ordering a clean sweep of Thorne's position after her shot. Lieutenant Commander Thorne didn't abandon her post. She survived an assassination attempt by her own countrymen, completed her mission objectives, extracted the evidence we needed, and made it to exfil with that intelligence intact. Intelligence that has since led to the arrest of 17 individuals involved in selling state secrets. Captain Reed rises suddenly, moving toward the exit. Two stern-faced MPs who entered silently during Ryerson's testimony block his path. Reed's hand moves suddenly toward his sidearm, a career officer's last desperate act, but freezes as Sullivan steps between him and the door. "Don't," Sullivan says quietly. "You've done enough damage." As Reed is taken into custody, Ryerson approaches Thorne directly. "Remove those shackles now." The guard hesitates, looking to Judge Blackwell, who nods numbly. As the restraints fall away, Thorne rubs her wrists but maintains her composure, her expression unchanged. Specialist Adamo Ryerson addresses Thorne's former spotter, seated in the gallery. "Can you verify what Commander Thorne told you when she made the decision to adjust her firing position?" Adamo stands clearly uncomfortable being put on the spot. "She said there were children present, sir. She said the parameters had changed and she was awaiting new orders from higher command." "And what did you advise her to do?" "I advised maintaining original mission parameters, sir. I said we should take the shots as planned." "Because you weren't aware of her secondary orders?" "No, sir. I wasn't." Ryerson nods. "Thank you, Specialist." He turns back to the court. Commander Thorne was placed in an impossible position. Follow her original orders and allow the death of dozens of children, or follow her superseding JC orders and be labeled insubordinate by her team. She chose the harder path. He faces the court again. Commander Thorne maintained her silence, even under the threat of life imprisonment, because she was ordered to. She was willing to sacrifice her reputation, her freedom, and her life rather than compromise operational security. Judge Blackwell struggles to maintain composure. "General, why wasn't this court informed from the beginning?" "Because we needed to identify everyone involved in the conspiracy. This show trial flushed them out quite effectively." Ryerson turns to the jury. "Gentlemen, I trust you'll make the right decision now that you have the actual facts." The courtroom erupts and whispers as the implications become clear. Admiral Zachariah, from his seat in the back, meets Thor's eyes across the room. This time he doesn't look away, his gaze a mixture of shame and newfound respect. Judge Blackwell clears his throat. "In light of this new evidence, this court will recess for 1 hour while the jury deliberates." As people begin to file out, Commander Westbrook approaches Thorne and Calloway. His earlier arrogance has evaporated. "Commander, I want you to know I had no knowledge of the classified aspects of your mission." Thorne regards him coolly. "You had enough knowledge to question the gaps in the evidence. Counselor, you chose not to." He has no response to that. As he walks away, Calloway turns to Thorne. "You knew this was coming, didn't you?" The general's intervention. "I hoped," she admits, "but I wasn't certain. You could have told me." And risk undermining the operation. It needed to play out exactly as it did. Calloway shakes his head in disbelief. "You were willing to go to prison if he hadn't shown up. Sometimes the mission requires sacrifice." General Ryerson joins them. "Lieutenant, would you excuse us for a moment?" Calloway nods and steps away. Ryerson studies Thorne's face. "You held up well." "Thank you, sir. I apologize for the timing. We needed to be certain we had identified all involved parties." "I understand, sir." Ryerson lowers his voice. "Reed wasn't the highest-ranking conspirator. We're still working up the chain. Admiral Zachariah, we're not sure yet, but your trial flushed out several connections we hadn't identified before. Thorne nods. I'm glad it wasn't in vain. None of this has been in vain, Commander. Ryerson's normally stern expression softened slightly. Your brother would be proud. At the mention of her brother, Thorne's carefully maintained composure wavers briefly. Thank you, sir. An hour later, the courtroom reassembles. The jury files in, their expressions significantly altered from earlier. Judge Blackwell calls the court to order. Has the jury reached a verdict? The senior officer stands. We have, Your Honor, on all charges and specifications, we find the defendant, Lieutenant Commander Merrick Thorne, not guilty. A murmur runs through the courtroom. Judge Blackwell nods. The verdict is recorded. Lieutenant Commander Thorne, you are free to go. This court-martial is adjourned. As people begin to disperse, Sullivan approaches Thorne. His weathered face is etched with regret. Commander, his voice catches slightly. I didn't know. I know you didn't, Master Chief. About Williams and Ramirez, the injuries, I thought. You thought what they wanted you to think. Thorne's voice softens. How are they doing? Recovering. Ramirez is already back on limited duty. Williams needs another surgery. Thorne nods. I'll visit them. Sullivan hesitates, then extends his hand. It would mean a lot to them, to all of us. Their handshake is brief but meaningful. The beginning of reconciliation between comrades who were manipulated against each other. Admiral Zachariah approaches, looking properly chagrined. Commander Thorne, on behalf of Naval Special Warfare. Save it, Everett. Ryerson interrupts, appearing at Thorne's side. She doesn't need your apology, but the service does need accountability. I expect your resignation by morning. As the Admiral walks away, Ryerson turns to Thorne. Walk with me, Commander. They move through the corridors of the JAG building, personnel stepping aside respectfully as they pass. You didn't have to do that, sir, she says quietly, revealing Kingfisher compromises other operations. Some things matter more than operational security, Commander. He studies her face. You were prepared to go to prison rather than defend yourself. I follow orders, sir, even the hard ones. That's why I recommended you for the program in the first place. Ryerson's expression softened slightly. Your next assignment will be on my desk tomorrow after some well-deserved leave. Of course, outside the building, the late afternoon sun bathes the naval base in golden light. For the first time since the trial began, Thorne allows herself a deep breath. Permission to speak freely, sir? Granted. What happens to the children from the village? The ones who were there that day? Ryerson seems surprised by the question. UNICEF has established a presence there. They're being cared for. Thorne nods, satisfied. Thank you, sir. Is there somewhere you'll go during your leave? Her expression becomes distant. Yes, sir. There's someone I need to visit. The following week finds Thorne standing before a simple headstone at Arlington National Cemetery. The name reads Lieutenant Archer Thorne, USN. The dates indicate he died 5 years earlier. She stands at parade rest, her posture perfect, even with no one watching. The autumn breeze rustles the nearby trees, sending golden leaves spiraling down around her. It's over, Arch, she says quietly to the stone. They tried to use me like they used you. It didn't work this time. She kneels and places a hand on the cold marble. I kept my promise. I made it all the way through. First woman to complete the course, just like we talked about. From behind her, a voice speaks. He would be proud. Thorne doesn't need to turn to recognize General Ryerson's voice. She rises and faces him, coming to attention. At ease, Commander. He joins her, beside the grave. Your brother was a fine officer. The finest, sir. They stand in respectful silence for a moment. Finally, Ryerson speaks again. The President wants to award you the Navy Cross publicly. Thorne shakes her head. With respect, sir. No. You deserve recognition, Commander. What I did wasn't for recognition. It was because it was right. She looks at her brother's grave. Some battles aren't fought for medals. They're fought because someone has to stand on the line. Ryerson studies her for a long moment. If not for yourself, Would you accept it for what it represents? For the others, who might follow? Thorne considers this, then nods once, understanding that her story, properly told, might matter to those who come after her. As they walk away from the grave, Ryerson asks, "Have you thought about my offer? Special operations planning at Jock headquarters." "I have, sir. I'm honored. But I believe I can be more effective in the field, even after everything that's happened, especially after everything that's happened." Her eyes are clear, determined. "Someone needs to watch the watchers, sir, and I have unique qualifications for that role now." Ryerson nods slowly. "Very well. I'll have new orders cut. There's a situation developing in the Horn of Africa that could use your particular skills." "Thank you, sir." As they reach the cemetery gates, Ryerson pauses. "Commander, what you experienced, the betrayal, the isolation, it would break most operators." Thorne meets his gaze steadily. "With respect, sir, most operators haven't spent their entire careers being told they don't belong, that they aren't good enough, that their achievements are just political theater. After that, a little betrayal is almost expected." Ryerson's expression darkens. "That changes on my watch." "Yes, sir." She salutes crisply. "If there's nothing else." "No, Commander." Dismissed. As Thorne walks away, her silhouette sharp against the setting sun, General Ryerson watches her go, his expression thoughtful. He takes out his phone and dials a secure number. It's Ryerson. She's in. Prepare the briefing materials for Operation Kingfisher Phase 2. 3 months later, Thorne stands at the window of her new office at Naval Special Warfare Command, watching recruits run drills on the beach below. The space is Spartan, functional, with little personal touch save for a shadow box containing her newly awarded Navy Cross and a faded photograph of 2 siblings in naval uniforms, arms around each other's shoulders, smiling beneath a desert sun. A knock at the door interrupts her thoughts. "Enter," she calls without turning. Admiral Lancaster, the newly appointed head of Naval Special Warfare, steps in. He's older than Zachariah, with a weathered face that's seen too many wars and a reputation for incorruptibility. "Commander Thorne, settling in?" "Yes, sir." She turns to face him, coming to attention at ease. "I just wanted to check in personally. Not every day we get a JC liaison with your particular background." "My background, sir." "Don't play coy, Commander. Your trial might have been classified after the fact, but word gets around. Half the operators in this building think you're a legend. The other half are nervous as hell around you." A small smile touches her lips. "And which half are you in, Admiral?" "Neither. I'm old enough to judge people by what they do, not what's said about them." He picks up the photograph from her desk. "Your brother?" "Yes, sir. Lieutenant Archer Thorne. He died during a training accident at Dam Neck 5 years ago." "I remember. Hell of a loss." Lancaster studies the photo. "He was in the first DevGru class you qualified for, wasn't he?" "Yes, sir." She doesn't elaborate, but the memory surfaces anyway. Her brother calling her the night before his final qualification test. Worried about the underwater portion. He'd never been comfortable with cold water immersion. She'd talked him through it, the same techniques that had gotten her through. The next morning, they found him in the training tank. Equipment malfunction. The report said she'd never believed it. Lancaster sets the photo down carefully. "Well, I won't take up more of your time. Just wanted to welcome you personally." He moves to leave, then pauses. "Oh, and Commander, there's an ensign who's been trying to get on your calendar. Seemed pretty determined. Kavak, I believe." "Thank you, sir. I'll look into it." After the Admiral leaves, Thorne checks her schedule. Enan Revina Kavak, requesting a meeting regarding Bud's preparation. Thorne sigh. Since her story had become known in certain circles, she'd become something of an unofficial consultant for women attempting the SEAL qualification course. None had made it through yet. She sends a message to her aide. "Schedule Enan Kavak for 1600 today." At precisely 4 o'clock, a young female Enan stands nervously outside Thorne's office door. She raises her hand to knock, then hesitates. The door opens unexpectedly. Thorne stands there now, wearing the distinctive insignia of JSOC on her uniform. Ensign Kavik, you're early. Thorn's expression is unreadable. Yes, ma'am. The Enon straightens her posture. Thank you for agreeing to meet with me. You want to talk about buds? Yes, ma'am. They say no woman has ever. She stops herself. They say it's impossible. Thorn studies her for a moment, then steps aside. Come in, Ensign. Let's talk about impossible. Inside the office, Kavik stands at attention until Thorn waves her to a seat. At ease, Enon, before you sprain something. Yes, ma'am. Sorry, ma'am. And stop apologizing. SEALs don't apologize unless they've actually done something wrong. Yes, ma'am. Thorn sits behind her desk. Tell me why you want this. Kavik launches into what sounds like a prepared speech about service, challenge, and proving herself. Thorn cuts her off halfway through. That's all very patriotic, Ensign, but it's not what I asked. Why do you want this? Not what you think I want to hear. Not what sounds good on a recruitment poster. The truth. Kavik pauses, thrown off script. After a moment, her posture softened slightly. My father was a SEAL, ma'am. Team 6. He died in Afghanistan when I was 12. He used to tell me there was nothing I couldn't do if I was willing to work harder than everyone else. Her eyes drift to the Navy Cross in Thorn's. Shadowbox. When I heard about you, I realized he was right. Thorn studies the young woman. Buds has a 70 to 80% attrition rate for men. Ensign, the odds are not in your favor. With respect, ma'am, the odds weren't in your favor either. A hint of a smile touches Thorn's lips. Fair point. She stands and walks to the window. The physical standards will not be lowered for you. In fact, you'll be held to a higher standard than the men. Every mistake will be magnified. Every success will be minimized. You will be isolated, undermined, and tested beyond what's officially in the program. I understand, ma'am. No, you don't. Thorn turns to face her. But you will. She picks up a folder from her desk and hands it to Kavik. This is a training program developed specifically for female candidates. Physiologically, we have different strengths and weaknesses than men. This addresses those differences. Kavik takes the folder, her eyes wide. You developed this, ma'am. I did after I made it through. I wish I'd had it before. She sits on the edge of her desk. The next Buds class starts in 4 months. That gives you 16 weeks to prepare. It won't be enough, but it's a start. Thank you, ma'am. I won't let you down. This isn't about me, Ensign. It's about whether you have what it takes. Thorn returns to her chair. Report back to me in 2 weeks. We'll assess your progress. Yes, ma'am. Kavik rises, clutching the folder like a lifeline. As the Enon reaches the door, Thorn calls after her. Kavik, when the time comes to quit, and it will come, remember why you're really doing this. Not for your father, not for me, not even for your country. Find your own reason. It's the only thing that will get you through Hell Week. After Kavik leaves, Thorn's secure phone buzzes. General Ryerson's name flashes on the screen. Thorn, she answers. Commander, how soon can you be in Washington? 6 hours, sir. Make it 4. There's been a development with Operation Kingfisher. The asset we placed in Yemen has gone dark. Thorn feels a chill run down her spine. Harrow. Yes. His last transmission indicated he'd identified the source of the intelligence leak. How high does it go, sir? That's what concerns me. His final message mentioned Olympus, Pentagon code for Joint Chiefs. Thorn closes her eyes briefly. I'm on my way, sir. 4 hours later, Thorn enters a secured conference room deep within the Pentagon. General Ryerson stands at the head of a table, surrounded by intelligence officers and a few faces she recognizes from Jack. One face stands out, a surprise. Master Chief Sullivan. Sullivan nods to her as she enters. Commander, Master Chief, didn't expect to see you here. General Ryerson thought my expertise might be useful. Ryerson calls the meeting to order. What's discussed in this room does not leave this room. Operation Kingfisher has uncovered evidence of a coordinated effort to sell classified targeting data to non-state actors in multiple conflict zones. Lieutenant Commander Thorn's mission in Yemen was just the tip of the iceberg. He brings up a series of images on the secure display. Our operative, Lieutenant Harrow, infiltrated the network 3 months ago. Last week, he informed us he had identified the American coordinator of these operations, someone with access to the highest levels of military intelligence. Thorne studies the intelligence briefs as Ryerson continues. 48 hours ago, Harrow missed his scheduled communication. 12 hours after that, we received this. He plays a heavily distorted audio file. Kingfisher compromised. Olympus involved. Trident is the key. Then gunshots and silence. Trident, Sullivan mutters. That's a SEAL reference. Ryerson nods grimly. We believe someone within Naval Special Warfare Command is working with elements in the Joint Chiefs to facilitate these intelligence transfers. Thorne feels all eyes in the room turn to her. And you need someone who's already survived one attempt to silence her. Yes, Ryerson confirms. We need you back in the field, Commander. But this time you'll be hunting your own. Sullivan shifts uncomfortably. Sir, with respect, if what you're suggesting is true, this goes beyond a few rogue operators. This would be. Later that evening, Thorne and Sullivan walk the reflecting pool near the Lincoln Memorial. It's a calculated risk to meet in public, but less risky than being seen together in a secure facility. I owe you an apology, Commander, Sullivan says quietly. I believed what they wanted me to believe about you. We're past that, Master Chief. Are we? Because where we're heading, I need to know you trust me at your back. Thorne stops walking and faces him. When we were in Yemen, before everything went sideways, did you trust me? Without question, then trust that person. I'm still her. Sullivan nods slowly. Fair enough. He glances around to ensure they're not overheard. Ryerson thinks Admiral Lancaster might be involved. What do you think? I think we need to be careful who we trust, even Ryerson. Thorne raises an eyebrow. That's borderline insubordination, Master Chief. Just being thorough, ma'am. There's a ghost of a smile on his weathered face. When do we deploy? 48 hours. Advance team goes in tomorrow to establish surveillance on the extraction point. And if Harrow is still alive, then we bring him home. Thorne's expression darkens. And then we find out exactly how far up this conspiracy goes. 2 days later, Thorne stands on the tarmac at Andrews Air Force Base, watching as her team boards the C-17. 8 operators, all hand selected by Ryerson. All people who had no connection to the Yemen operation. Trust no one had become the operating principal. Sullivan approaches, gear packed and ready. Team set, Commander Sullivan, ready to roll. Any last-minute intel from Ryerson? Nothing new. We're flying blind until we hit the ground. Thorne nods, her mind already shifting to operational mode. Then we stick to the plan. Get in. Locate Harrow or his intelligence. Get out. We identify the leak when we're safely back home. As they board the aircraft, Thorne feels the familiar calm that comes before a mission. The doubt, the politics, the complications all fall away. In the field, things become simple. Complete the objective. Protect your team. Come home alive. The loadmaster gives the signal and the ramp closes. The engines roar to life as Thorne secures her gear and takes a seat. Across from her, Sullivan catches her eye and gives a small nod of reassurance. Whatever waits for them in Yemen, whatever conspiracy they've stumbled into, they'll face it together. For the first time since her trial, Thorne feels like a SEAL again, part of something larger than herself. Not a political symbol, not a test case, not a lone operator against the system, just a warrior with a mission. As the aircraft lifts off, carrying them toward whatever fate awaits, Thorne allows herself a moment of clarity. This is what her brother had lived for. This is what she had fought to be part of. This is where she belongs. The mission comes first. Justice will follow. Near the front of the aircraft, a communications officer approaches with a secure tablet. Commander Thorne, priority message from JSOC Actual. She takes the tablet, enters her authentication code, and reads the brief message. Asset Harrow confirmed. Key mission parameters unchanged. Identify source of leak. Additional intel suggests Lancaster clean. Focus on designation Oracle. Authorization for direct action granted. Kingfisher flies alone. Thorne deletes the message and hands back the tablet. She catches Sullivan's questioning look and gives an imperceptible shake of her head. Not now. Later, when they're alone, she'll brief him. The aircraft banks eastward, carrying them toward the rising sun, and whatever answers await in the desert. Thorne closes her eyes, not to sleep, but to center herself. Her brother's voice echoes in her memory. The only easy day was yesterday. Indeed, but she wouldn't have it any other.